In a world that moves faster than we can process, where distractions are endless and peace feels distant, there's an ancient philosophy that cuts through the noise like a sword. It's called Stoicism, and the wisdom it offers is both brutal and beautiful. Today, we're diving into 10 Stoic quotes that won't just inspire you, they'll punch you in the soul. These aren't just words to reflect on. They're reminders to change how you think, live, and respond to the world. Let's get started. You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do, say, and think. Marcus Aurelius. This single sentence from Marcus Aurelius doesn't whisper. It roars. It isn't meant to depress you. It's meant to wake you up, to grip your soul, to shake you out of distraction, and remind you of the one truth we all try to ignore. You could die at any moment. This idea, memento mori, or remember you must die, was central to Stoic philosophy, not to create fear, but to create clarity, to burn away the meaningless and leave only what truly matters. When Marcus says, "You could leave life right now," he isn't trying to be poetic. He's being literal. You're not promised tomorrow, not even the next breath. And that fact should shape everything. It should determine what you say to the people you love. It should dictate how you spend your time. It should silence petty arguments and awaken you to the beauty of now. Because if life could end in the next second, what excuse do you really have to hold back love, forgiveness, or truth? Most people live as if they have unlimited time. They chase things that don't matter. They argue over nonsense. They wait to start that dream, to mend that relationship, to speak their truth, waiting for the right moment. But Marcus is saying, what if the only moment is this one? This quote is a demand for urgency, presence, focus. Imagine going through your day with this truth etched into your mind. How different would you act? Would you waste time scrolling endlessly? Would you complain about traffic? Would you let ego ruin your peace? Probably not. You'd be more kind, more honest, more courageous. You'd drop the mask. You'd forgive faster. You'd stop procrastinating on the things that make your heart race. Because when you remember how fragile life is, you start treating it as sacred. The Stoics didn't view death as darkness. They saw it as a teacher, a motivator, a sharpened edge that cuts through the illusion of permanence. Marcus wasn't obsessed with death. He was obsessed with not wasting life. There's a difference. He knew that remembering death forces you to live deliberately. Not tomorrow. Not later. Now. This isn't morbid. It's liberating. So when you hear, "You could leave life right now," let it guide your next action. Let it make you braver, kinder, more present. Because life isn't something you can manage or control. It's something you live deeply before it slips away. Every sunrise is a gift. Every word you say might be your last. Every breath could be the final one. And when you hold that truth, not with fear, but with grace, you stop wasting time. You start living. We suffer more in imagination than in reality. Seneca. What if I told you that most of the pain you feel doesn't come from life itself, but from your thoughts about life? This one line from Seneca isn't just philosophy, it's a mirror. A harsh one. It forces us to look at the way we mentally exaggerate pain, inflate problems, and build disasters in our heads that never actually happen. According to Seneca, we are often not victims of reality, but prisoners of our own imagination. Think about how much time you've spent worrying about things that might go wrong. That job interview you lost sleep over. That conversation you replayed 100 times in your head. The potential failure you feared so much that you never even tried. We build these mental horror stories like professional directors of anxiety. But when the moment comes, it's rarely as bad as we imagined. Seneca is calling us out. We are authors of our own suffering. Not always, but far more often than we think. Reality has pain, yes. Life brings hardship. But the suffering multiplies when we dwell, when we forecast doom, when we add fear on top of fact. The human mind has an extraordinary ability to rehearse failure, rejection, and catastrophe as if it's happening now. And that's where the real suffering lies. Not in the moment, but in the mental theater we live inside. Let's be clear. This doesn't mean emotions aren't real, or that pain is your fault. What it means is that much of our internal torment comes from attachment to imagined outcomes. We suffer before the thing happens. We suffer if it might happen. We suffer again after it happens. It's triple pain, most of it unnecessary. This quote also reminds us of the Stoic mindset. Focus on what's in your control, accept what isn't, and train your mind not to wander into fear without facts. When a Stoic faces a challenge, they don't ask, "What if this ruins me?" They ask, "Is this in my control? And how should I respond with virtue?" This shift from panic to presence is powerful. You see, the Stoics weren't robots. They didn't suppress emotion. They trained for it. They practiced premeditatio malorum, visualizing bad outcomes, not to wallow in fear, but to reduce its sting. So when misfortune actually came, they were ready. They had already lived through it, rationally and calmly. We can do the same. Next time your mind spirals into worst-case scenarios, pause. Ask yourself, is this happening right now, or am I imagining it? That question alone can bring you back to the present, back to reality, back to the truth. That right now, you're still breathing, you're still alive, and you still have a choice. Seneca's words are a call to stop rehearsing tragedy and start living. The world is hard enough. Don't let your mind make it harder. It is not things that disturb us, but our judgments about things. Epictetus, take a moment and think about the last time something upset you. Maybe someone ignored your message. Maybe you didn't get the promotion, or traffic ruined your morning. Now ask yourself, was it the event itself that caused the emotional storm, or the story you told yourself about it? This quote from Epictetus is one of the most important principles in Stoic philosophy. It's a dagger that cuts right to the heart of how we experience reality. Nothing has the power to disturb us, unless we let it. Imagine this. Two people stuck in the same traffic jam. One is yelling, slamming the steering wheel, stressed about being late. The other? Calm. Maybe listening to a podcast, breathing deeply, accepting that this is out of their control. Same situation. Two very different experiences. Why? Because one person judged the event as unacceptable, while the other simply saw it as what is. Epictetus is teaching us that suffering doesn't come from the world. It comes from our interpretation of the world. We assign meaning to things that are, by themselves, neutral. Getting fired isn't good or bad. It's just a fact. You might feel crushed and worthless, or you might see it as the push you needed to pursue something better. The event didn't change. Your judgment did. The Stoics believe that the only thing we truly control is our own mind. Our thoughts, our beliefs, our actions. Everything else, other people's behavior, the weather, the economy, even our own bodies, is beyond our full command. So why invest your peace in things you can't control? When something painful happens, most people instinctively blame the outside world. But Stoicism flips the script. It asks, what are you telling yourself about this? Is this belief helping you or hurting you? This is the power of cognitive distance. It's the space between the event and your emotional reaction. Most of us collapse that space. We react instantly. But if you can pause and examine your judgment, you give yourself the chance to respond with reason instead of reflex. Let's say someone criticizes you. Your knee-jerk reaction might be anger or defensiveness. But stop. Ask yourself, is what they said true? If yes, then thank them for helping you grow. If no, why let a false opinion steal your peace? Either way, your judgment is what shapes your experience, not the words themselves. Epictetus isn't saying we should suppress emotion. He's saying we should understand the source of it. The world will throw challenges at you, delays, losses, betrayals. But if you can train your mind to judge wisely, you can face these storms with strength. This quote is a call to reclaim your power, to stop outsourcing your peace to things you can't control. You don't need the world to be perfect. You need to master the way you see it. And that changes everything. Don't explain your philosophy. Embody it. Epictetus. In an age of noise, opinions, and endless talk, this quote by Epictetus cuts through with surgical clarity. Don't talk about your values. Live them. We've all met someone who preaches kindness, but gossips behind backs. Who posts quotes about resilience, but crumbles under pressure. Who shares videos about discipline, but snoozes their alarm 5 times every morning. Epictetus saw this disconnect thousands of years ago and called it out. Philosophy is not about words. It's about action. It's not a thing you wear like a badge. It's something you become. In the world of Stoicism, your character is your philosophy. Not your bookshelf. Not your Instagram bio. Not your ability to quote Marcus Aurelius. The real Stoic, Epictetus believed, doesn't need to say, "I am Stoic." You see it in how they show up every single day. Calm in chaos, grounded in failure, humble in success. Words are easy, but your habits, your choices under pressure, your ability to live with integrity when no one's watching, that's your true philosophy. Imagine a world where people stopped debating what's right and simply started living it. Less arguing, more integrity. Less image, more substance. This quote dares us to take a long, honest look in the mirror. Not what do I say I believe, but what do my actions reveal? Are you the person who says you value discipline, but never keeps a promise to yourself? Do you talk about detachment, but spiral when plans fall apart? Do you post about stillness, but never put your phone down? It's not judgment, it's a challenge, a call to align your outer behavior with your inner values. Because when your actions match your beliefs, that's when you become powerful. Quietly powerful. The kind of strength that doesn't need applause. Epictetus was a former slave who rose to become a respected philosopher. Not because of fancy words, but because he lived what he taught. Every hardship was a test of his principles, and he passed not by talking, but by being. He reminds us that philosophy isn't about appearing wise. It's about building a life that reflects your deepest convictions. So the next time you're tempted to tell people what you believe, stop. Show them. Be the calm voice in a tense room. Be the honest one when it's hard. Be the consistent one when no one else is. Live in such a way that people feel your philosophy, without you saying a word. That's Stoicism. That's power. That's real. He who is brave is free. Seneca. What if the true chains that bind us aren't physical, but psychological? Seneca's words, "He who is brave is free," hit like a silent revolution. In just 7 words, he redefines freedom, not as a political status, not as money in the bank, not as retirement or vacation, or living on your own terms. He says, bravery is the real key to freedom, and that flips everything upside down. Most people think they'll be free once they earn more, escape obligations, gain followers, prove themselves. But they miss what Seneca is pointing at. You can't be free if you're afraid. Afraid of what people think. Afraid to fail. Afraid to start. Afraid to lose. Fear makes you a slave. Quietly, subtly, completely. But when you're brave, when you choose courage even when your hands shake, when you speak truth knowing it might cost you, when you step forward even though you might fall, that's when you taste real freedom. Because bravery isn't the absence of fear. It's acting despite it. The Stoics believed that courage wasn't just a virtue. It was the foundation of virtue. Why? Because every other virtue, justice, wisdom, self-discipline, requires bravery first. You can't do what's right if you're scared of judgment. You can't learn deeply if you're afraid to be wrong. You can't master yourself if you're terrified of discomfort. Seneca, who lived under the tyranny of Nero, understood fear intimately. He knew what it meant to live under threat, to walk the edge of death. But he also knew this. No man controls a soul that refuses to be ruled by fear. That's the Stoic definition of freedom. It's not about external control. It's about internal command. Look at your own life. Where are you not free? Not because of laws, but because of fear? Afraid to change careers? Afraid to set boundaries? Afraid to fail publicly? Afraid to live fully because of what might go wrong? Those fears are your prison, and only courage holds the key. So how do you break free? You start small. You do the hard thing once. You say the truth one time. You walk into the fear, not to defeat it, but to disobey it. Each brave act loosens the chain. Each step makes you stronger. Until one day, you wake up and realize you are no longer owned by what scared you. Seneca's quote isn't metaphor. It's instruction. Want to be free? Be brave. That's it. If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment. Marcus Aurelius. Let that sink in. You are not hurt by the world. You are hurt by how you interpret the world. Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor facing wars, betrayal, and plague, understood something most people still don't. You hold the key to your own peace. Not the outside world. Not other people. You. When something bad happens, your flight gets canceled, someone insults you, a deal falls through. What really hurts isn't the event. It's your estimation of the event. Your internal reaction. Your judgment that says, this shouldn't happen. This is terrible. This ruins everything. But what if you could pause? What if you could step back and say, wait, maybe this isn't as bad as I'm telling myself. That's the power Marcus is pointing to. The Stoic power, the ability to reframe, to revoke the judgment. You can't control what happens to you, but you can control the meaning you give it. It's not about denial. It's about dominion over your own mind. You're not a slave to circumstance. You're not a puppet pulled by events. You have a choice. You always have a choice. This quote reminds us, peace is possible, even in chaos, if we master our perspective. Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. Epictetus, in a world that screams more, 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 Epictetus whispers a truth most will never understand. Freedom doesn't come from what you own. It comes from what you no longer crave. Think about it. Most people aren't chasing money. They're chasing relief. They want to feel safe, seen, respected, loved, and they think the car, the clothes, the house, the likes, that's how they'll get it. But here's the trap. The more you get, the more you want. The goalpost moves. The hunger grows. And instead of becoming rich, you become a prisoner of your desires. Epictetus flips the entire concept of wealth on its head. He's not against having nice things. He's against being owned by them. He's saying, you're rich the moment you stop needing more to feel enough. When you reduce your wants, you reduce your suffering. That doesn't mean you stop growing or improving. It means you stop chasing fulfillment in places that will never give it to you. Because true wealth is internal. It's the man who sleeps peacefully, not the one who lies awake guarding his gold. In the Stoic view, the richest person in the room is the one who desires the least, because nothing controls him. So if you want to be wealthy, Don't just count your possessions. Count your cravings. Then start letting go. No man is free who is not master of himself. Epictetus. This quote doesn't comfort. It confronts. It pulls the mask off and asks the hard question. Who's really in control? You or your impulses? We talk about freedom like it's external. The right to do what we want, say what we want, go where we want. But Epictetus reminds us, you're not free if you can't control your own mind. Think about it. If your anger can hijack you in seconds, are you free? If your phone addiction steals your attention daily, are you free? If you say you'll wake up early, but hit snooze 10 times, are you free? If your mood rises and falls based on other people's opinions, are you free? No, you're a slave to emotion, to habit, to external validation. Real freedom, the Stoic kind, doesn't come from breaking rules. It comes from self-rule, from mastering your thoughts, your actions, your desires. It means saying no to yourself, when that's what strength demands. It means showing up with discipline when motivation disappears. Epictetus isn't judging. He's showing you the way out. He's saying, train yourself, sharpen your mind, govern your emotions like a wise king governs a nation. That's the Stoic ideal, power over the self. Because if you can master you, no one else can. That's not weakness. That's real power. That's freedom. How long are you going to wait before you demand the best for yourself? Epictetus. This quote doesn't whisper. It slaps. It doesn't ask gently. It dares you. How long? How long will you keep living on autopilot? How long will you keep saying someday, while settling for just okay? How long will you keep watching others build their lives while you scroll, delay, avoid? Epictetus saw what so many of us live. Potential without urgency. People waiting for the perfect time, the perfect mood, the perfect plan. But perfection never comes. Time slips by, years pass, and the best version of you stays locked inside, untouched, unseen. This quote is a wake-up call. You are the standard. You are the solution. And you decide when to stop tolerating average effort, lazy discipline, shallow thinking, weak habits. He's not saying be perfect. He's saying, start now. Start demanding that you act in alignment with the greatness you talk about. That you show up with the strength, the clarity, the effort your future self will thank you for. Because waiting has a cost, and the price is your potential. So don't wait for motivation. Don't wait for someone to push you. Don't wait for Monday, or New Year's, or your next low point. Demand the best of yourself, now. The more we value things outside our control, the less control we have. Epictetus. Let that sink in. Every time you chase what isn't yours to command, you give away your power. Think about how much energy we pour into things we can't control. Whether people like us, how others behave, the past, the future, the algorithm, the weather, luck, outcomes. We obsess over results, over recognition, over approval, and then we wonder why we feel anxious, drained, or lost. Epictetus cuts through all that noise. He's saying, stop handing your peace to things that don't belong to you. The more you value external things, status, likes, praise, success, the more unstable your inner life becomes. Why? Because external things are fragile, unpredictable, out of your hands. But your choices, your reactions, your character, that's where Stoic control lives. That's where real strength begins. If you want to feel calm in the storm, you have to stop trying to control the rain and start learning how to control your sail. It's not about being indifferent. It's about being anchored, grounded, centered in what you can control. Your discipline, your perception, your values. When you stop clinging to the uncontrollable, you reclaim your power. And in that space, you find freedom. So, now you've heard them. 10 timeless Stoic quotes. Not just words, but weapons, tools, reminders from men who faced war, slavery, betrayal, and death, and still found peace, power, and purpose. These quotes aren't here to decorate your Instagram bio. They're not fortune cookie wisdom. They're calls to action. Seneca, Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus. They didn't just talk about how to live. They lived it. Through loss, through fear, through failure. And they left behind a roadmap. Not to escape life, but to engage with it fully, bravely, and wisely. Now the real question is this. What will you do with what you've just heard? Will you let these ideas fade into background noise like every other motivational video? Or will you pick one quote, just one, and make it your compass this week? Will you stop explaining your beliefs and start embodying them? Will you stop chasing what you can't control and start mastering what you can? Because change doesn't happen when you know something. It happens when you live it. You already have the strength. You just needed the reminder. And now that you've heard it, there's no going back.